What if you've been searching for your purpose in completely the wrong direction? The ancient Vedic framework of svadharma says your purpose isn't something you create or chase, it's something you've been quietly carrying your whole life. Miss this, and you'll spend decades building a life that fits everyone's expectations except yours. In this video, I'll show you number 1, why the standard advice for finding your purpose is backwards, and what the 3,000-year-old concept of svadharma says instead. Number 2, how to use a simple 4-question map to locate where your nature and the world's need actually overlap. Number 3, the one internal signal that tells you whether you are living your dharma or someone else's, and how to trust it. Let's get into it. There's a guy I know, mid-30s, successful by every visible measure. Good salary, respected job title, a LinkedIn profile that looks like a highlight reel. But every Sunday night, he'd get this low-grade dread in his chest. Not panic, just a quiet, persistent heaviness. He told me once, "I feel like I'm playing a character someone else wrote." That sentence stopped me cold. Because that's exactly what the Vedic texts describe when a person is living outside their svadharma. Not dramatic suffering, just the slow, grinding cost of being the wrong shape for the life you're in. Most of the advice out there on how to find your life purpose tells you to look outward, follow your passion, find your why, pick a mission statement, and if none of that works, take a personality test, read another book, attend another retreat. The problem isn't that this advice is wrong. The problem is that it's pointing the flashlight in the wrong direction. Here's what the Bhagavad Gita actually says. In chapter 18, Krishna tells Arjuna that it's better to perform your own dharma imperfectly than to perform someone else's dharma perfectly. That's not a throwaway line. That's the entire architecture of the teaching. The Sanskrit word is svadharma. Sva means self. Dharma means your nature, your duty, your inherent way of being in the world. Put them together and you get something that doesn't translate cleanly into English. Something like the truth of what you are expressed as action. Now here's what makes this different from modern purpose talk. The Vedic framework doesn't say you choose your purpose. It says your purpose is already encoded in your nature, in your prakriti, your innate constitution. The work isn't invention, it's recognition. Think about that for a second. When you were 8 years old, before the world had a chance to tell you what you should want, what were you drawn to? Not what were you good at by training. What pulled your attention without effort? What did you do for hours without anyone asking you to? Most people, when they sit with that question honestly, can name something. And most people will also tell you that the life they're currently living has almost nothing to do with that thing. Prabhupada, one of the most significant commentators on this tradition in the modern era, puts it plainly. Suffering arises not from hardship, but from living according to someone else's dharma. Family pressure, cultural scripts, the career your parents wanted, the version of success your neighborhood defined. You followed the map, but it wasn't your map. This is why so many high achievers feel empty. They won the game they were told to play, but it was never their game. The first shift the Vedic framework asks of you is this. Stop asking, "What should I do with my life?" and start asking, "What am I actually made of?" That's a different question, and it leads somewhere different. Now let's get practical, because ancient wisdom that doesn't translate into Monday morning is just decoration. There's a framework from Japan called ikigai. You've probably seen the diagram, 4 overlapping circles. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for. The intersection of all 4 is supposedly your reason for being. What most people don't know is that ikigai didn't emerge from nowhere. Scholars of comparative philosophy have traced its structural roots directly to Vedic concepts of dharma and karma. The idea that right action flows from right nature, and right nature expressed in service creates both meaning and sustenance. So these aren't 2 separate frameworks, they are the same map drawn by different hands. Let me walk you through the 4 questions as a practical exercise. I want you to actually answer these, not just nod along. Question 1. What do you do where time disappears? Not what you enjoy in a passive, comfortable way. What activity puts you in a state where you look up and 3 hours have gone by without you noticing? That's your flow state. That's a signal of natural alignment, what psychologists call intrinsic motivation. In Vedic terms, it's your svabhava, your innate tendency, showing itself. Question 2. What do people consistently come to you for, even without you advertising it? Not your job title, What do friends, colleagues, strangers actually ask you for? This is important because your natural gifts are often invisible to you precisely because they are so natural. Fish don't notice water. You don't notice the thing you do effortlessly that other people struggle with. Question 3. What breaks your heart about the world? Not in a vague general way. What specific problem, when you see it, creates a visceral response in you? Frustration, grief, urgency? That emotional charge is a compass needle. The Gita teaches that your dharma almost always points toward a need in the world that your specific nature is equipped to address. Question 4. What form of contribution would sustain you, not just financially, but energetically? Because here's something the romantic version of follow your passion leaves out. Dharma isn't a hobby. It's a way of living that has to be sustainable. The Vedic texts are clear that a person must be able to maintain themselves through their dharma. It's not selfless to burn out. Now, where do your answers to those four questions overlap? That is the territory of your svadharma. Here's what I'll tell you from working through this with people. The overlap is almost never a total surprise. When people find it, the most common reaction isn't, wow, I never would have guessed. It's, I've always known this, I just didn't trust it. And that brings us to the third piece, which is the most important one. There's a concept in the Gita that doesn't get nearly enough attention in Western readings of the text. Krishna describes two kinds of happiness. One he calls Vishaya Sukha, pleasure that comes from external objects and experiences. It feels good immediately, but it fades and it always asks for more. The second kind he calls Atma Sukha, a happiness that arises from within, from being in alignment with your own nature. He describes it as something that feels like poison at first and nectar later, meaning it often requires discipline, discomfort, and patience before it delivers its reward. That second kind of happiness is what psychologists today call eudaimonic well being, the deep satisfaction that comes not from pleasure, but from living in alignment with your authentic values and strengths. Research on this is consistent and strong. Eudaimonic well being predicts life satisfaction, resilience, physical health, and longevity far more powerfully than hedonic pleasure does. The ancient framework and the modern science are saying the same thing in different languages. The path that feels right in the body, even when it's hard, is different from the path that feels comfortable but hollow. So here's the practical signal I want you to pay attention to. It's not a feeling of excitement. Excitement is unreliable. It spikes around novelty and fades when the work gets real. The signal I'm pointing to is subtler. It's a sense of rightness even in difficulty. When you're working in alignment with your svadharma, hard days feel meaningful rather than pointless. Obstacles feel like problems to solve rather than signs you're in the wrong place. You're tired at the end, but it's a clean tired, not a hollow tired. Contrast that with the signal of living outside your dharma. It's not always dramatic, it's often subtle. It's the Sunday night dread, the sense that you're performing rather than living. The feeling that you're constantly translating yourself into a language that isn't yours. Prabhupada describes this as paradharmu bhayavaha. Another's dharma is dangerous not because it's evil, because it slowly disconnects you from the source of your own vitality. So the practice is this. Start noticing in your daily life which activities produce that sense of rightness even in difficulty and which produce that hollow performance feeling. Keep a simple record for 2 weeks, not a journal, just a note. This felt right, this felt hollow. Over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. You're not building a map from scratch. You're reading one that was already drawn inside you. That 2 week noticing practice is where most people start to see the pattern clearly, and where they also hit the hardest question. I can see what my dharma might be, but I have no idea how to build a life around it. If that's where you are right now, you can feel what's true for you, but you don't know how to make it real given your actual life, your responsibilities, your constraints. That's exactly what I want to talk to you about. I'm offering free one-on-one consultation calls. 30 minutes, no pitch, completely personal to your situation. We'll look at where you actually are, what's blocking you from living in alignment with your nature, and you'll walk away with a concrete next step, even if we never speak again after that call. The link to book is in the description at dailymindreset.com/consultation. These spots are limited because they're real conversations, not automated funnels. If this way of thinking about purpose is new to you, subscribe. This channel goes deeper into these frameworks every week. One question for you in the comments. When you were a kid, before anyone told you what to want, what were you naturally drawn to? And does any part of that still show up in your life today?